Why do I do this? Why do I make videos? Why did I write a book? Why did I do any of that? Why do I bother at all? Why am I even asking these questions? Well, recently I have been thinking, and it hasn't just been recently, it's been years now that I've thought this. Why do we strive to make the world a better place, knowing that there's a highly, highly probable chance that when the world becomes great, the products of that great world will choose to make it a worse place in the first place? What do I mean by this? Well, the ancient Greeks actually knew about this. There's this sort of cycle that they put forth. And it basically went something like this. Weak times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. And this is basically it's a practical example of that model. We live in a very sick time today. Everybody is metabolically ill, so to speak. People are dying of diabetes and heart disease left and right. And you have to ask yourself the question, well, is it actually a good idea to make people's health better? Of course, I actually believe that this is true. I'm being a little manipulative here. Sure, fine. I'm being a little clickbaity, I guess you could say. I'm not trying to actively rage bait, as they say nowadays. Obviously, I believe that, or else I wouldn't be making videos. That's the answer to the beginning of the video here. However, sometimes I battle with myself because when people have their health so good, that's whenever it goes to I have friends that I went to school with, I went to high school with, and I look at what they do. I look at their lifestyle behaviors, and I look at them and I go, the only reason why you're not thinking about what you put into your body is because you live in the most domesticated world that we've ever created, the Western world. And so if you know that that's how people are going to act when things are good, why would you make things good? Why would you go out of your way to try and do that? The only thing that you can do is live by example. Function as a good example and have other people follow in your footsteps, except even that doesn't work because, or at least not always, not necessarily, because most of the time they will not even know what the problem is. You get domesticated enough to the point where knowledge itself, the importance of actually knowing things, is no longer important. We're living in an epidemic of ignorance. We really are. People are ignorant to everything. I mean, this goes beyond health. This goes into history. This goes into politics, the economics. I mean, every system around us that we depend on, we know nothing about. And it's one thing to not know, things like extremely intricate and granular systems, like how a phone works. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the fundamentals that got us here. Having cell phones didn't get us to where we are in the world today. These great times that we're in today. That's not what it was. It was a philosophical, ethical framework and foundation. It was a pattern of behaviors that were primarily based in Judeo-Christian values, but I'm not going to get into the whole religious thing. I'm not saying that to sort of evangelize or something. It's those things, and we don't really know. We don't know anymore. It was important for us to know so that we didn't repeat history. But then when recent history is so good still in the grand scheme of things, we fail to have that pressure continue to be exerted on us to know where we came from. You can't go outside and pick flowers, cut them, put them in a vase, and expect them to live forever. No, you need the foundations. You have to have that, or else we will destroy ourselves. And so that's the common denominator here. That's the common thread between these two things I'm talking about. Health and then society today. Why are people healthy? Why do you not have any sicknesses right now, or illnesses or disorders? When you know that, then you know how to get yourself better when things go to shit. And more importantly, you know how to prevent that from happening in the first place. And so the importance of education cannot be overstated. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Education is extremely important. Extremely important. People need to know things. They need to know foundations. They really need to know this, because if they don't know, they are going to run themselves into the dirt, because there's no pressure on them, given how good we have it today, to know those things. There's no pressure because everything is fine. Right now, we are the flowers in the vase. Everything's fine and dandy, but we're slowly dying because we don't have the knowledge of the foundations that we're based upon. Not only do we not have the knowledge of what those foundations are. But if we don't have that, we don't know how to preserve what we have today. That's why I do what I do. That's why I've written this book, Contrainidicated, a closer look and revision of mainstream health axioms that have perpetuated illness, disorder, and disease for over a century. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing. People don't get it. I saw this. I continue to see this, but I saw this more so freshly after high school. For me, I'm young. I'm 21 years old, about to be 22, and I saw it back then, and I went, oh, you don't realize how good you have it. You really don't. You have no clue. None. So the unfortunate reality is that people aren't going to listen until things fail for them. And that goes to the original point of this video. Why do we try and make the world good when you know that if it becomes good, people are just going to make it bad again? In many ways. Not in the entirety of the world, but in many, many areas of the world. That's something I really haven't thought too much about. I just do it. I go through the motions because I know that it's what I ought to do. There's an idea, and it is fundamentally a religious idea. I will admit that. But I found it interesting nevertheless. And it cited that cycle that I just laid out in the beginning. That cycle is a Greek sort of philosophy, that everything is cyclical, everything. And there's no getting out of it. It's like a hamster on a wheel. But there's an idea that history isn't a circle. It can be a line, so long as we all act in accordance with virtue. So somewhere along the line, people fail to act in accordance with virtue. And that's the whole weak men creating weak times. It's the weak men element that's the problem. The lack of maintenance, because there's too little of a pressure to maintain those things. It requires self-discipline eventually. We have food all around us. It's ubiquitous. So it's easy to just be gluttonous. The better the times, the more of a pressure it puts on you, the more incumbent it is upon people to maintain virtue. It becomes harder, but it becomes even more pressing. Because if you don't, you'll run the world into the ground again. That's how these two things connect. I'm going through the motions because I know it's right. It is the right thing to do. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Have you actually felt this before? Because I doubt that I'm the only one. With that being said, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'm not going to plug anything besides my book if you'd like to buy, if you're curious, I guess. Links in the description below for paperback, audiobook, hardcover, self-narrated audiobook, hardcover, and ebook. But now's not the time. Now's not the time. I'd like to just have you sit on that for a minute. So, till next time.